Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating system for managing waste from Tsukuba City, Japan. It's a system that completely rethinks what we even consider to be trash. And this idea right here is the core of everything they do. It's a pretty profound shift in perspective, right? Waste isn't just something you get rid of. It's actually a whole collection of potential resources just waiting to be sorted and unlocked. So, how do they actually do it? Let's get into their very systematic approach for creating value from the things we all throw away. It's honestly a masterclass in organization, and it all begins with how people sort their waste right in their own homes. Okay, we're going to start with the two big categories, the ones that residents are dealing with pretty much every single week. Getting this first step right, well, that's the foundation for the whole system. The whole system really kicks off with this basic separation. So on one side, you've got your burnable items, things like food scraps, old leather shoes, that kind of thing. And on the other side are the non-burnables, which is pretty much anything that won't incinerate, like ceramic bowls, metal pots and pans, and even those empty lighters. The system also has safety built right in. So while most medical stuff you might have at home, like diapers or IV bags, are considered burnable, there is a huge exception: sharps. Any kind of needle has to be taken back to a pharmacy or a hospital. You can't just toss them out. And here's another really thoughtful safety measure. For anything sharp and non-burnable, like a broken plate or an old knife, residents have to wrap it up securely in paper and then clearly label it with the Japanese word for caution. It's all about protecting the waste collectors. Okay, so now let's see how all this careful sorting starts to create those valuable resources we talked about. Because beyond the everyday burnable and non-burnable stuff, there's a whole separate world for recyclables. Let's just take a simple PET bottle, for example. The process is really straightforward. First, you pop off the cap and peel off the label. Believe it or not, those are recycled separately. Then you just give the bottle a quick rinse. That's it. Keeping the materials clean from the start is absolutely key to making recycling work. Now, the system is super specific about what counts as plastic packaging. You just have to look for this little mark. You'll find it on things like food trays, shampoo bottles, and even plastic bags. If a plastic item doesn't have this mark, it gets treated as either burnable or non-burnable waste. Simple as that. It's not just about cardboard and newspapers. There's this whole other category called miscellaneous paper, or zatsugami. And this covers all that other paper stuff you have lying around the house, like empty cracker boxes, old envelopes, and gift wrap. It all gets bundled together into its own recycling stream. And this is a really important but, not all paper can be recycled. Things like thermal paper receipts, old photographs, or a greasy pizza box, those can actually contaminate the entire batch. So to keep the recycling stream clean, those items get sorted out and treated as burnable garbage instead. All right, now we're getting to the items that need a little bit more attention. You can't just toss these into the regular bags. They require some special handling to make sure everything is disposed of safely. These items are all collected separately, and for good reason. They contain materials that can be pretty hazardous. We're talking about things with mercury or chemicals that can corrode or propellants that are flammable. All stuff you really don't want ending up in a landfill or an incinerator. And this right here, this is exactly why those rules are so strict. Things that are under pressure or flammable, like spray cans or lighters that aren't totally empty, pose a huge fire risk for the collection trucks and the sanitation workers. And it's a serious safety issue. So, to prevent any accidents, residents have to follow this exact procedure for spray cans. First, you have to use up everything inside. Then, and this is important, you take it outside to a well-ventilated spot, far away from any open flames, and puncture the can. Then, you put it in its own separate bag. So, what happens when you have something that's just not going to fit in a bag? Like an old piece of furniture or maybe a bike that's seen better days. Well, Tsukuba has a special system for that too. Okay, first things first, you have to know the official definition. If any single side of an item, whether it's the length, the width, or the height, is 50 centimeters or more, then boom, it's considered oversized. Getting rid of these big items isn't a spur-of-the-moment thing. It's a scheduled process. After you measure your item, you have to book a collection, either online or over the phone. Then, you go to a local convenience store to buy a special disposal ticket, stick that ticker on the item, and then put it outside on your assigned collection day. And, yep, there is a fee for this. The cost is all based on size. It starts at 400 yen, which is roughly $3 for items up to 120 centimeters, and then the price just goes up from there for the really big stuff. So, with all these different rules and categories, you might be wondering, how on earth does anybody keep all of this straight? Well, that's where a little bit of technology comes in to help. Of course, there's an app for that. The city has this great app called 3R that's for reduce, reuse, recycle. It's super helpful. It'll send you reminders so you don't miss your collection day, and it even has a searchable dictionary. You can literally just type in any item, and the app will tell you exactly how you're supposed to get rid of it. When you really think about it, a system this detailed does so much more than just manage waste. It kind of changes your whole relationship with the stuff you use every day. It forces you to actually see the entire life cycle of an item. And it proves that with just a little bit of careful sorting, what used to be garbage can really, truly become a resource.